Unmute. One sec.
Seven p.m. All right, sounds good. Welcome everyone to August 14th meeting of the Lafayette Design Review Commission. I'm calling to order the tonight's meeting of the Lafayette Design Review Commission. I would like to start by confirming that the Design Review Commission has returned to in-person meetings. As a courtesy, members of the public may participate remotely in these meetings. Please refer to the agenda for information about how to provide public comments, either in person or via Zoom teleconference. Public comments from remote participants using the teleconference option will be allowed to speak live. However, their video will not be shown and screen sharing will not be an option. Finally, since the city cannot guarantee the public's access to teleconference technology will be uninterrupted, and the option for the public to participate remotely is only a courtesy, if technical difficulties arise for participants using the teleconference option, the meeting will continue unless required otherwise by the Brown Act. And if you have any public comments to speak on any items that are not on the agenda, you need to submit a desire to speak to the staff. With that, we are going to start the meeting with the roll call.
Glenn Cass, present.
John Gray, present.
Armand Hadilu, present. We have 3 commissioners present tonight, and you are meeting the quorum. Then we move on to adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Move to adopt.
I'll second it.
Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. So next item in the public is the public comments for items not on this or an upcoming agenda and within the purview of the commission. Do we have any comments or raise hands on the Zoom call?
I do see one raised hand.
I think that's fine. I was just gonna say if you could put me as co-host.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I don't see any other hands raised in the public.
Sure. With that, we are going to move on to the next item. On the agenda is the consent calendar. And the only item on the consent calendar is the meeting minutes of our July 24th meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt as is.
And I'll second that.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. So the minutes are adopted. Now we move on to the next item. We do not have any items for the study session or continued public hearings, and we move on to 7A HDP 07-23 Quintus, if I'm spelling that correctly, R6 zoning request for a hillside development permit to construct first floor additions totaling of 1,697 square feet with a maximum height of approximately 15.5 inches to an existing single story 1,140 square feet single family residence and a garage at 3310 Beechwood Drive. We do have Anna tonight as the staff to present the project.
Yes, thank you. The property at 3310 Beechwood Drive is zoned R6 residential and is located within the Hillside Overlay District, shown here in blue. Though the parcel is flat, and it is also not subject to a ridgeline setback. The rear property line borders the Lafayette Moraga Trail, and a photo of the existing home is shown in the upper right-hand corner of this slide. The existing residence is 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, single story with a 1-car garage. This site plan shows new living area highlighted in yellow, expanded porch area highlighted in green, and the setbacks for the property outlined in red. The existing residence and front porch are shown in gray. And a portion of the existing residence at the bottom of the image, which encroaches into that setback, is allowed to remain as an existing non-conforming condition, as the building footprint in this area will remain unchanged. 2 mature trees in the front yard offer screening when viewed from the street, and not shown at the rear of the parcel beyond the property line along the Lafayette Moraga Trail is additional mature vegetation. The resulting residence is a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom, 1-story home, maintaining the single-car garage with a kitchen, living, dining room, and covered porches at the front and rear. The living area will total 2,557 square feet with a 280 square foot garage. The applicant proposes a new roof form, which increases the overall height by 2 feet 6 inches and results in a more prominent facade. The new proposed height is 15 foot 5 inches at the highest ridge. The impact of the increased height and new additional living area is not visible from the street because the addition extends behind the house toward the rear property line. The design, scale, and color remain consistent with other homes in the vicinity, which are a mix of 1- and 2-story homes. The new addition has the greatest potential for visual and privacy impacts when viewed from each of the side property lines. Highlighted here are the new windows proposed that face these neighboring properties. The applicant has provided site sections, which I will show on the next slide, demonstrating that an existing fence along the property line will mitigate these privacy impacts to neighbors from these new windows. These site sections show the relationship between the side-facing windows and neighboring properties, demonstrating that window placement, as well as the existing property line fence, will help mitigate impacts to neighbors. A notice of public hearing was sent out and posted in the vicinity, and staff did not receive any public comment on the project. Staff did receive responses from these referral agencies, EB Mud, Central Sanitation District, Lafayette Parks, Trails and Recreation Department, and City Engineer. The main comments were from the city engineer, who requested that permeable paver details, structures within the front yard, and drainage details be included when submitting the construction drawings. And these items can be addressed at that phase with the construction drawings for final review and approval by the city engineer. Staff recommends that the DRC find the project exempt from CEQA and adopt DRC resolution 2023-15, approving the project subject to the conditions included in the staff report. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any question for the staff?
Do we have an approved a variance tonight for the second parking space? That's in the public, I think it's in the setback area.
Yeah, so the parking, because the conditions of the parking are not set to change or decrease in any way, that's not part of the application.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So with that, we are going to move on to the applicant's presentation.
Yeah. Thank you guys again. Nice to see you again. I don't have much to say, just I grew up in Lafayette, lived in Lafayette over 90% of my life. Always a dream to live here. And you know, being our age, we had to buy the worst house on the best block. That's definitely what we've done. You saw, I think, our teeny tiny house that we've been living in for the last year. Definitely looking forward to, you know, growing, having a family hopefully soon. But to do so, we're definitely going to need more space, more room, just overall updated living conditions that really comply with, you know, current year. So I think, you know, we've gone through, or Anna has been through a lot of renditions of our plans. But I really feel like we landed on something that really fits with the design. We've walked through the neighborhoods, made sure that everything looks cohesive. We've landed with, you know, not too big of a house. I think it definitely still provides some backyard for our dogs, which is what we wanted to keep. And overall, just, I think we've addressed all the comments that we've gotten, and definitely obviously happy to put in permeable pavers. I think that's the one request that's still outstanding. But other than that, you know, just really proud of where we're coming. We're looking forward to hopefully approval and moving forward with this, but definitely available for any questions.
Thank you. Any question for the applicant?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I did not see any landscape drawings, so do you have
We're not
plans to
changing
landscape?
anything. So I think they were required, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they were required if we were not changing any current landscaping. But if you have a picture of our current house, right before they sold it, they just redid all the landscaping. So it looks really nice. It has, the one thing we are changing is the fence because it's currently falling apart. So we're gonna update the fence in the front, but still same height. But we have grass, we have a tree over like on the left side. You can't see it in that picture, but there's a nice big tree on the left side. And then some bark and then, a couple fern type plants, but other than that, we're not planning to change anything, which is why we have not included it.
And that's real grass in your front yard?
Yes, it's real grass. The dogs love it.
Thank you.
And the lighting fixture, I didn't see on the drawing that it was dark sky compliant, or is it?
I believe they are all compliant. They should be included in our full plans.
There is one lighting fixture shown here.
Yeah, I saw it, but it doesn't.
It
I think-
doesn't say, right.
It
So when we
doesn't say.
submit the plans at the
Yeah, I
very
couldn't-
last
I
page,
couldn't look it up to see.
or
We have colors and materials included on this sheet with applications.
Yeah,
That is something that staff can review with the construction drawings. We can, we'll request specs for the brand of light to confirm that it will be shielded from above and downward facing. This does appear to comply, but staff can confirm that.
All right, thank you. So with that, we are going to move to public comments. If there are any public comments, you have 3 minutes, please.
I apologize for doing this here.
Please identify yourself clearly.
Okay, I just didn't appreciate. I'm Cheryl Platt. I live at 3306 Beechwood Drive. I'm adjacent to the new home they're building. I apologize. I've been out of town, so I just kind of catching up and saw the notice for tonight, and we haven't had a chance to meet. I also recently built and followed all of the city guidelines, and my one concern, and again, not to make it bad, is that I'm concerned about the 15-foot roof height. Is that in the city limits, or is that going above our neighborhoods?
Yeah, the limit for the zoning district is 35 feet or 2.5 stories. A trigger for design review for structures over 17 feet does not apply in this situation, but it is before the design review commission for the hillside development permit.
Okay, but we're talking about homes on one side can't be that high because they're on a hill, not a 2-story on our side, which they've changed. So, and just my other question, and again, I'm just kind of asking, I guess I should be meeting more with Jennifer, but when it is a big home and I'm happy they're there and they're looking forward to going forward with it, are we staying consistent for our neighborhood? We're it's a small street, it's a small lot, and I don't want us to get carried away with, you know, getting a little oversized for our size lots. This is a big house going right up next to my smaller home. So I'm just wondering, you know, is that going to kind of change the look of our neighborhood too much? I want them to do it. I'm not trying to say no. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page going forward for just their home and our neighborhood in general. We just spent years fighting for it to keep the park in place. You know,
and can you
we don't
remind
want
us
it
the
to get
existing
carried
and the
away.
proposed
So
square
are
footage?
we? You know, I'm just kind of asking, just so I can let other neighbors know what's with concerns.
So these are existing, this is what's being added on, so this isn't, the 1675 is not gross total, it's 1675 plus the 882 of living area. And that's
So the total,
approximately 22.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
So they are meeting the, I just, again, we haven't had a chance to speak. I just want to make sure they're within the requirements. We're not.
Well, the city doesn't have a floor area ratio limit, but
Okay,
there is a consideration about compatibility.
Okay,
That's all.
so. I went out and measured today, and I'm sorry, Jen, I tried to catch you, but. I'm kind of worried about 15 feet roof height. Kind of towering over my home and blocking out what sunlight I get. And things like that. So as long as they're within the scope and we're not going crazy, that's
Committee and Anna, if I may,
how it is.
Yes.
Jonathan Puentes here.
Yes.
Hi.
Thank you.
When we were working through the process initially, I believe we spoke with Anna.
Here, Jonathan, I have to change the output system for the,
The applicant will have a chance to make a rebuttal to all the.
Oh, sorry.
okay.
I couldn't, so I don't know if he's talking to me.
Did you have any other?
No, I just wanted to make sure, I'm not sure I made sense, but I just wanted to ask what the directions were.
Just to clarify the process, first, there are public comments, and anybody who has a comment is welcome to speak. When the public comments are complete, then the applicant is welcome to respond to those.
Yes. So that is other half the applicant.
Here.
Okay, so,
So do we want to have a rebuttal to the
there
comments?
are no more comments.
If there are no more comments from public?
If you are in the Zoom room and would like to make a comment on this application, please use the raise your hand function. There are currently no members of the public in the room.
So Jonathan could drop.
No.
Jonathan, would you like to rebut or would you like me to respond?
Sure, I could just do it real briefly. I just believe when we were working through the process with Anna initially, the idea was thrown around about potentially doing a 2-story because the houses across the street had like we call it a onesie twosie vibe, where it was like a first floor and then the second floor is reset in. But in order to preserve the sightlines from the other side of the street and to the neighbors on our left and right, we just felt like it'd be best to keep it 1-story. But again, like our neighborhood does have the 2 stories on the other side. So if the committee would appreciate that more, then we could push the house forward and do the onesie twosie look that was initially discussed. But yeah, Jen, feel free to layer on.
Yeah, and then just to provide further context, obviously that everybody loves high pitched ceilings. We would love to have pitched it even more, but we want to be consistent with the current pitch of the roof is. That's definitely something that we've already worked out from, I think we were asking you a few questions about going above 17. But looking around, it felt like homes were a little bit more in the 15 to 17 range. So we felt it appropriate to retain our current pitch, which is I think 412, which is pretty low on the standard end. And I think just to address the home size, you know, as I mentioned, we want to have kids here, and I think this is with us both working from home, this is a necessary size house that we feel appropriate for us to stay here, you know, for the next 18 years of our lives until we have kids that go through high school.
Thank you. With that, we are going to move to commissioner comments. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. So, many of the concerns that Ms. Platt, raised were concerns that I had as well, you know, about, well, not so much about the height. 15.5 feet is not really anything extraordinary, but, and the way it's sloped and all that, I don't think that's gonna cast a lot of shadows on you or anything like that. I did actually walk the neighborhood, and I actually liked the split level or the onesie and a half or whatever you want to call it next door to you, you know. And I was thinking is that, well, you're just taking up an awful lot of yard with the expansion of that. And it goes pretty close to that rear setback, you know. But it's one of those, you know, you put it up higher, you have more shadows on one side or the other. You have more looking down on someone else's property into their backyard, whereas the 1-story doesn't, and the views are obstructed by the fence and so on and so forth. So I think actually this was the better solution.
You know, obviously, they want that square footage for what their intended family and work needs are. You know, we always sort of look at it as, can it be shrunk? You know, yes, it could be shrunk, but that wouldn't meet their objectives. So if it isn't really obtrusive, and it isn't because the way it's positioned on the property and all that, and it's not, again, that new addition is meeting the setback requirements for that portion of the property. The only complaint, or the only thing that I noted, was that you have an awful lot of lights on the outside. You have them all indicated on motion detectors. I would say you need to eliminate lights except where it's mandated for safety to get into the house. So, you know, consistency across the whole front facade. We don't light up the neighborhood that way. And I would eliminate almost all the motion detectors. I don't think any of them, because again, I don't think it's fair to the neighbors. The windows are sitting higher up, you know, if that rear deck lights up because every time, you know, some animal walks through the backyard, that's not going to be acceptable to the neighbors who also have bedrooms on the backside of their houses. So the only thing that I would like to see is some modifications of the lighting fixtures.
Happy to turn those off a motion sensor. More than happy.
Yeah.
It's a very dark street and I agree with them, keeping it kind of the dark neighborhood type feel.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Thank you. John?
Okay, well, I agree with Glenn that I don't believe the height is an issue. I think you'll find that you are not aware of it being any taller than what's there right now, but it does have a larger footprint. Yeah, I think that's not largely visible off your property, except the one place that I had questions about is looking to your neighbor let's see, it was the 3314 side, your other neighbor there. You kind of look into their backyard, and I see you have a 6-foot fence. The section that's shown in your drawings does not convince me that you've addressed privacy from inside the house or from on your deck. Your eye level is above the fence, and if I were your neighbor on that side, that would be, I guess, the west side. I would like you to do something additional for privacy, and that was my question about landscape.
I apologize, I can ask my architect as well, but are lattices legal? Like, could I add a 2-foot lattice to the fence all the way around to add additional privacy?
Maybe, but what I was gonna suggest is planting. I think screening shrubs just inside your fence that have, you know, something to get a little taller than the fence would probably be a good answer for that. And that's what I would suggest.
Is that proposal all the way around or just on the one? I think that'd be the 10-foot setback side on the left.
So I didn't look in your backyard. I looked in your front yard only. So I couldn't tell. Well, I could just tell what I could see on the plans. But if you're in a situation to look into either of your neighbors' yards, I think some kind of planting that screens that would be recommended and perhaps required.
I would propose just the 10-foot side and the back side. I think if we get it on the 5-foot side, we're not gonna be able to wheel our trash cans along there or walk on there because 5 feet is.
Well, so if I recall from your floor plan,
I don't.
you've got bedrooms on the west side, and on the east side, it was your garage, and what's further
The
back?
one kitchen window.
Kitchen dining.
There's no windows in the dining.
I think your neighbor on the east will probably have a comment, if you want to find time for that.
Sorry, you're bringing it up. I just from measuring, and Jen, we can go home and look, the kitchen window seems to be across from my bedroom. So it was something I was gonna talk to them, what we could do there.
So
Okay,
I think that's a different question.
And mainly I was worried about the outdoor space. I mean, when we have buildings on narrow lots that face each other, we have window coverings. I mean, that's a reality and on smaller pieces of land. But to make somebody's backyard feel observed, I think is uncomfortable. So I would suggest planting there. I agree that between a house and a fence that's only 5 foot away, you're not going to put large shrubs there.
Right, or and the other thing is, since we're looking at, I believe you're looking at the deck. Is
Yes.
where the offense is. You
Well,
can-
and
you
also
can
the bedroom.
Squeeze the deck, you can squeeze the deck. Lengthwise down. If you need
So we have
more room for
sliders
shrubberies.
out The out of the dining room and then out of the master, those are both sliders, that fully open. So then I think it would just cut it down on the 10-foot side, which is where we're adding the shrubs. So I don't know if that would really provide a benefit. And I propose keeping the entire deck the whole length, just because we would have the shrubbery suggested there. And that would have the privacy on that side.
So I would have preferred to see a better description of context in the drawing package we're looking at here. I can't tell, I don't see your neighbor's property on that deck. If you're sitting on the east side of that deck, are you looking right into your east neighbor's backyard?
Looking at if you pull up the one that has the down, I think we're only down 1.25 feet from the front of the house to the back of the house. If you look at the landscaping, so it would be an 8-foot fence less 1.5 feet, which would be about 6 feet. From my understanding of reading these designs from our surveyor. So I don't think so, no.
I think it's higher than that because the number of steps you have off the back deck. The fence is gonna follow the contours and you have. What did you have, like 4 or 5 steps off the back deck?
I believe we have 3, but I could be wrong.
Well, you had the plan there a minute.
Yeah, I
ago.
see 5 steps
Yeah,
going down.
see, you're higher up. In fact, you can see how the fence line there on that drawing, you're. Even sitting down, you're almost looking over the fence.
I'm open to proposed solutions, but I don't think we're comfortable removing the deck or removing either of those sliders.
So then I think, it seems like
Well-
shrubs would be like those like bushy shrubs that grow up. I believe they're called ficuses. I think they grow, we have them, or I've seen them in Palm Springs. I believe like the 15-gallon ones come at like 6 feet and they can grow really, really tall. So we could just do like a layer of ficus all the way around. Because it would be nice to add that layer of, because when people walk along the trail's higher than our fence just because of the way it is. So it would be nice to add ficus to the back as well, so that way people aren't staring into our kitchen from the back. So I think we could just do like a wall of ficus around the fence and just have it groomed up.
Jonathan, are you proposing all 3 sides, including the 5-foot setback side?
I-
Remove that walkway then, so we'd have to put a fence on the 10-foot side.
I think just ficus on both sides, because I think the ficus, I can measure, but I know it's 5 feet, which is narrow to get the trash cans across, but we could try to make them really narrow, or we could just put the trash cans in the garage or build like a little container for them outside, like some other people do.
You know, another thought for that, let's see, if we're looking here, that would be the east side. At your rear deck, you could consider some sort of a vertical trellis. And isn't east the left in this view?
Yes,
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, you could put something, build it onto the deck, build a screen wall, that
Oh, that'd
planted
be nice.
trellis of some sort built into the deck, just to give you privacy from your neighbor and your neighbor privacy from you.
That'd be nice
Yeah,
on,
definitely seen those and would be open to that solution.
yeah, we could get those nice plants that like weave into the fence. I think we have some in the front of our yard, like they like kind of weave through the fence, so that'd be nice.
So, let me just see where in my comments here. Regarding the floor area and lot coverage, it's still not a very large house. 2,250 feet is not that big a home. I know it's on a very small lot, and you know, I think you've made a compromise in how you're using your property that limits the visual impact of your house, which I think your neighbors should appreciate. I'm comfortable with the size of the house myself.
Thank you.
Regarding the light fixtures, dark sky compliant is fixtures that even from straight ahead, you shouldn't see the glare of lights. So I think they're supposed to have a kind of a shade over them. So I think we'll probably, and you can work with staff on that, change the light fixture to one that really has a cutoff and mainly lights downward.
Definitely.
Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with my fellow commissioners. I think everything they said tonight was spot on. I want to appreciate the design. I think it's a well-designed house and the colors and everything. I think they just sit very well within the context of the neighborhood. I share the same feeling that John had about the size of the house. I think, except for that small portion that's encroaching into the setback, the rest of the house is just sitting behind the setbacks. And this is kind of the reality that, growing families, they need just larger space and larger homes. So I think the size of the house is fine, and also the roof height, because that maximum 15 foot is kind of in the middle of the footprint of the house. I don't think that's going to impact the neighbors as much compared to the existing house. But I also share the concern about the privacy of both east and west neighbors. And typically, we ask all the applicants that they submit to DRC to show side sections that shows the house in relation to both the neighbors. I think it's going to benefit the project to cut the sections that cuts north-south and east-west, and shows the conditions on both sides and how far are the neighbors from the house. And if you could show how is it gonna.
Yeah, I believe it's how.
Yeah.
So this one, if we zoom in,
It doesn't show as much as we would like to see. It
Yeah.
shows a tiny fragment of the edge of your neighbor's property, but I'd like to see more, but I could still understand.
sure. Yeah, just looking at the section, we kind of get the feeling that the neighbor might have concern about the privacy, especially from the porch. So with that, I would recommend if we do a second review of the project, not at DRC level, but you submit with the conditions and the comments that the commissioners had tonight, and we reviewed at the staff level with one of or two of the commissioners reviewing the project before approving. So do you want to just motion?
Well, I'm okay with that, but I don't really think the commissioners need to see it. I mean, staff is capable of looking at a trellis and planning, and the lighting fixtures are a given, that staff. So, and we're not changing the configuration or changing the size of windows or changing anything really. So I think really
I feel
staff,
that a conditional approval is appropriate, with that condition being a staff review.
Okay.
yeah. So I'll make the resolution, or,
I have
so the resolution is to, approve that complies with CEQA, or no,
yeah.
Okay.
Read it off the screen, you can.
oh, okay. I find the project exempt from CEQA and adopt the DRC resolution approving the project subject to the conditions of the staff report and is addressed by the commissioner's comments, which included verification of the lighting fixtures, exterior lighting fixtures are dark sky compliant, that we eliminate all or most of the motion detectors and possibly reduce exterior lighting, and that we shield the exterior deck area or the backyard of the adjoining neighbor from the deck by plantings, trellis, or other devices.
Yeah, that was very thorough.
I will second that.
So everybody in favor, aye?
Aye.
With that, so we approved the project with the conditions, and so you are going to resubmit to the staff and they are going to review them for the final approval. Thank you. With that, we are going to move on to the next item, 7B, HDP 13-23 and V06-23 later. R6 zoning. These two houses, they are very close by. So number one is hillside development, design review and variance permit to reduce the front yard setback from 20 foot to 14 foot 6 inches. And the side yard setback from the required 5 foot to 4 foot 5 inches. In order to construct 243.47 square feet of living area additions to an existing 1,270 square foot. One-story single-family residence with a maximum ridge height of 18 foot at 3299 Beechwood Drive, which is exempt from SEQA. With that, staff, please present the project. Thank you.
I am enabling her to screen share. Sorry.
Thanks, Anna. All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Commissioner, for the project introduction. The subject.
Can everybody hear Samina okay?
A little louder volume.
Sorry. The subject lot is around 0.3 acres with Lafayette Moraga Trail and Los Trumpers Creek running northeast. This parcel is situated diagonally across from the earlier discussed item 7 on Beechwood Drive and is also zoned for single family district 6. Here is the context map that shows the neighboring properties with red lines indicating their established non-conforming setback from the street. And here are some pictures taken from the street showcasing the neighboring residences, mainly consisting of split level, 1-story and 1-story over garage homes. Based on staff's observations from site visit, the front setback, as you can see, the front setback areas in the neighborhood are commonly utilized for overflow parking spaces. Unlike the neighboring properties, the current residence does not have a garage. This is the view of the house from the street looking west. The house is 1-story single family home with a horseshoe driveway that has 2 entrances and a row of tall cypress trees at the front. There are also 2 non-conforming parking spaces that are not proposed to be changed as part of this project scope. This is the view of the backside, showcasing the hillside, oak trees, and retaining wall. On the right, you will find the eastward view of the side and the front, including the north facing section and the existing deck. The project is seeking approval for hillside and design review to extend the maximum ridge height by 1 foot to 18 foot maximum, which is slightly above the current maximum height of 17 feet. The existing home has site constraints such as a non-conforming side yard, steep hillside with protected trees, and retaining walls. The proposed front addition requires encroachment into the setback to match the original construction. This includes 0.6 feet side encroachment and 5.5 feet front encroachment, totaling of 54 square feet. Furthermore, here is the map showing neighborhood parcels highlighted in yellow that have been granted variances. The closest ones are at 3302 and 3387 Beechwood Drive and 831 Los Trumpers Drive, where variances for front and rear yard setbacks have been granted for approval of additions. The new floor plan, here is the new floor plan that displays a 243 square feet addition, front addition for the primary residence renovation with the new bedroom and bath. The project includes new wood deck railings and rearranged entrance area with low water consuming plants and a new entry path. The existing elevations are here, and the proposed ones also show that the single-family, single-story home will remain as a single-story home with a maximum height of 18 feet and a shallow hipped roof at 8-foot flat height. The exterior colors palette will match the existing ethereal mood siding, complemented by new dark gray roof shingles, cedar deck railing, and black Marvin windows. These materials would blend with the natural surroundings, allowing the addition to fit comfortably. The exterior light fixtures will be downward facing, shielded, and dark sky compliant. The design prioritizes adjacent homes, privacy, and visual impacts, aided by lower position of the home and existing landscaping on all sides. Also, due to Beechwood Drive's natural traffic pattern and the property's view from outside is intermittent, which is partially blocked by the cypress trees. And so the extension into the side and front yard would blend with the context. As of today, staff has received standard comments from 4 referral agencies and 2 support letters from immediate adjacent neighbors prior to publication of the staff report. Staff is able to make all the required hillside design review and variance findings, recommends adopting DRC Resolution 2023-16, approving the project subject to conditions. With that, I conclude my presentation and I'm available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Samina. Any question for the staff?
None for me.
No.
So with that, we are going to move to applicant's presentation.
Hello, my name is Kenny Goodman, Principal Architect for the firm Trademark Architecture Interiors. In November of 2021, Peter Layton and Jenny Koo came to me with the problem of lack of space for the growing family. Currently, they live in a modest 2-bedroom, 1-bath home, 1,272 square feet, with no garage for storage or car parking. With 2 children, ages 8 and 5, now 10 and 7, they knew they needed additional bedroom and bathroom to enable them to continue to live in their home and enjoy Lafayette. The goal was to add another bedroom as well as to enlarge the primary bedroom, which would include a 2nd bathroom for the house. I explained 3 options for an addition in general to them. First was we could create an additional space with little regard for the existing architecture of the home, fulfilling the space requirements. And unfortunately, we see too many of these, and I recommended that we don't do this scenario. The second was to create an addition that would look like it never happened, maintaining the character, the charm of the house. Third is to have an addition where we create entirely new character of the house, rendering it as a new construction. Our choice was the second option, to create an addition that enhanced the quaint architecture of the house, looking like it never had any work done to it. This project had inherent obstacles. The home was built up against a hillside that already employed substantial concrete retaining walls and mature oaks above it. It was pinned on both side yards, actually going a little bit over on the left side. It had a very awkward front yard as it was located at the bend in Beechwood Drive. This required the home to have a staggered front elevation with portions of the existing home already in the front setback. We saw only 2 viable options to add on to this house. The first was to go up, which we found too costly, or to go forward with an impact as small as possible. The decision was made to go forward with 2 small triangular encroachments, with the total area of that encroachment of being 54 square feet. Room sizes were kept to a minimum, our total proposed addition equaling 243 square feet. We'd lose the front entry porch, we'd lose the large front facing window in the living room, but this was a required compromise for what they wanted to do. We added a new entry to the front side corner of the living room and modified the entry path to create a direct route from the driveway. At the same time, we decided to reduce the size of the existing deck. It could square it off and make it a little bit more space for front yard landscaping. We also added a pair of skylights to bring in some light to the existing living room to make up for loss of fenestration. For the exterior of the home, we removed a failing brick water table and some awkward, very heavy window shutters. We maintained the hip roof structure and had minimum impact on the overall height of the residence, retaining the modest scale of this home. We did have the benefit of a small stand of Italian cypress trees that provides privacy for the front-facing bedrooms and visually screens the house from folks driving by. This essentially reduces the impact into the front setback further, as you can only see small glimpses of the home at a time. The side yard encroachment is minimal yet necessary to align the proposed addition with the existing structure. This would simplify construction and the overall appearance of the home. With lack of garage, retaining a semicircular drive was essential for the homeowners, as it provides off-street parking, even though it's not entirely on their property. Considerable amount of time has been spent on this project to create an addition that satisfies the needs of the homeowners, has minimal impact on neighboring properties, and maintains a simple, honest architectural character, while at the same time being affordable. Our proposed total area is just a bit over 1,500 square feet, a modest home for the neighborhood and for the city of Lafayette. This proposal cannot be done without the requested variance, and we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any question for the applicant?
I do.
Yes.
You partially addressed my question in your comments. In bedroom number 1, which is as is labeled on your plans, can I ask Anna, could you put up drawing number 5?
Mina, can you share drawing 5?
Oh, actually, Samina, you're driving. There it is. So your bedroom number 1, you talked about the side setback and your suggestion that it was not preferred to maintain to bring this to the existing setback line another 6-8 inches, whatever it is,
Right.
for simplicity of the structure and the visual appearance of the house. I would like to just ask you a couple of questions about that. Looking at the plan, and I imagine that bedroom 1, if that one wall did not align, and I looked at the elevation of that side of the house, and that's on the two sheets later. Samina, if you wouldn't mind scrolling down, I'm not sure if you're looking at the same thing I am or not. It's the designer's sheet number 7.
That's the point this one. Those are my plans.
There we are. That's the drawing I had in mind. So the existing elevation is on the right-hand side. And if we were to put a vertical line to suggest a facade stepping back at the point of the addition, I actually think it might make the building look nicer. It might just give it a little step there. It would make the construction a tiny bit more complex, and you'd lose 6 or 8 inches, whatever it is, from that one front bedroom. I mean, would you consider that, or do you really feel strongly that you want that wall straight?
Well, I think if you do that, you'd have a jog in the roof as well,
Yeah,
and that would add a lot of complexity to the roof structure. And one of the things we're trying to do is keep this as quaint, as simple as possible, and keep our expenses as minimal as possible. And adding that extra jog is going to add quite a bit of money, although it's even a small house.
okay, that's my question. Thanks.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Sure.
So the existing condition versus what's proposed, what's the difference between the way that you are going to park the car for the parking spaces?
It's pretty much the same. The only thing that's changing is on the far left side, the retaining wall has to come forward a little bit to make room for the addition. But currently they have one car and they just park within the circular drive.
Okay.
Do we have a
retaining wall.
site plan that shows the circular drive
Right, it's L1.
at the beginning or end of the set?
I think it's one
First
before the
sheet.
last.
There it is, there. So,
So the cypress stand is what creates the the boundary between the street and the circular driveway.
Right.
And that's not changing.
So there's no substantial
No
change.
substantial
No.
change, yeah. Thank you. So with that, we are gonna move to public comments. If there are any public comments, you have 3 minutes.
If there is anyone in the Zoom meeting who would like to speak, there are no attendees actually in this meeting.
Okay,
There's any
so
present.
no rebuttal, I guess. With that, we are gonna move to commissioner comments.
Okay, I can start this time. I'm sure you're aware that the city puts a pretty high bar on variance requests. To grant a variance, it has to be kind of a compelling case that you're in a difficult spot and the variance allows you to get the use of your property. I think this is a case where that's true. You're very constrained on all sides. There's little place you can go, and this is a very modest addition with a very modest intrusion into the setback. And there's precedent in your neighborhood for other homeowners making similar requests and having them granted. I am comfortable granting the variance request in the front setback, and I would not make a big deal out of the side setback either. I think it would look nice, but you're right. The little 12-inch or 8-inch jog in the house is probably not worth the money it would take to do it. So I think your approach, I'm very supportive of it. I think you've done a nice job, and I have no further comments.
Thank you. Commissioner.
I concur with Commissioner Gray to a large extent. Yeah, my only real downfall on the variance is that I think that puts your house closer to the street than any other house on that street. And so I didn't want to set precedents by that your neighbors think, oh, no, we can all move to 14 feet away from the street as well. But I do think that I can make the findings that we need to have about the constraints, of the amount of cut and fill and the retaining walls and the loss of the oak trees and other things, that pushing it to the backyard is just not going to be feasible. So I will concur that I just want to be on record that, there's a real limitation on why we're doing this, So it's not going to be setting precedents for this neighborhood that everyone's going to be able to do this. That's it. I mean, the only other comment I had is I was a little disappointed that your vegetation is not California native when you have so little plantings to do, but okay.
Thank you. I agree with my fellow commissioners. I think everything they mentioned is right, and I appreciate the sensitivity of your design about the context and how thoroughly you thought about all the options. And I think the option that you're landing on here works pretty well. And I think the addition is pretty modest, and it's very reasonable for the variances that you're requesting. And with that, I'm in support of the requests. Do we want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a draft resolution? I don't think we've added any conditions here this evening.
We haven't added any, so
So
we
next
find
one,
that it's
sure,
exempt
yeah.
from CEQA. And that we concur with the staff's resolution draft.
Are you able to share that language, Nina, on the screen from your presentation?
So it's almost the same as the previous one that was drafted up, except that the job number changes. Project number
If you need to refer to the resolution number and language for the recommendation.
Okay, my eyesight is
Zoom in, Samina.
not quite up to that.
So I will second that, yes.
Did I need to read that or no? Or you were satisfied with what I had?
If you could just repeat it for the record, Samina, are you able to zoom in? We're looking at the sheet.
Well, want me to read it?
Here,
John, you go ahead and I'll second it.
So we reviewed the project and found it exempt from CEQA and moving to adopt DRC resolution 2316, approving the project subject to the conditions documented there.
Thank you. Happy about that.
And I second that.
Okay, then
all right. Everybody in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. With that, we are approving the project. Sure. There's
subject
just-
to a 14-day
Right.
appeals period.
Great. So we are gonna move to the next item, art volunteer for August 18th.
I can do it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
And commissioners' reports?
None. No, well, I guess the question is where do we stand on DRC interviews?
Yeah, I was gonna ask for that on your staff report.
Oh, I am hopeful, that
Thank you.
Arlene will be able to provide an update to you. I unfortunately am not involved in that process. I'm filling it tonight. I wish I could have an answer for you with that. But I can, ask her to follow up if it's appropriate to let you know before the next DRC meeting.
Sure.
Status is on.
I got an email that the interview is scheduled for 21st, August 21st. It got canceled a few times.
At what time?
and postponed. It's, I believe either 4 to 5 or 5 to 6. I'm gonna send you the,
Okay, I don't know that I can make either one of those. I could, when they were at 7, I could make them.
sure,
Um,
I think it's before 7.
yeah.
Can
We can double check that.
can you text me or
Sure.
tell me what the times are or day and the time?
Sure. And with that, staff liaisons report.
I do not have a staff liaisons report at this time. None was shared with me to pass along.
That's fine.
Thank you. And we adjourn the meeting. Thank you. everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.